So, what I thought we'd do is go through some key terms of liberalism. So, you should be making notes and trying to make glossaries of key terms for each of the ideologies that we're going to look at. So, first one, foundational equality. So, foundational equality is the belief that all individuals are born with natural rights: the right to life, the right to liberty, the pursuit of happiness. So this translates itself into the rule of law, and the basic belief that all individuals are equal under the law. So that is foundational equality. The second key term is egotistical individualism, which is a bit of a mouthful. So this is the idea that individuals are self-reliant, we're self-interested, but above all, we are rational. So what underpins it is this belief that individual freedom is associated with a rational sense of self-reliance and self-interest. So that's egotistical individualism. Thirdly, we have developmental individualism. So developmental individualism is a view shared by both classical and modern liberals, and it's the belief that individuals must help themselves to improve. There is a difference in how classical and modern liberals view this. So classical liberals believe that this can be achieved with a minimal state. Modern liberals believe that this can only be achieved with the state playing a role, with state help. So that's developmental individualism. So next up is formal equality. So formal equality basically it's a wider concept than foundational equality. So it takes the belief that all individuals are equal under the law, and it applies this principle that individuals are entitled to equal treatment in society. So it calls for the abolition, for the ending of social distinctions, such as gender or racial inequality, and it calls for an equality of opportunity, which underpins quite a lot of what liberals believe in. So next up we have social contracts, which we've done quite a bit on. So this is the idea that the state is based on a contract between the government and the people who it governs. So the government is accountable to the people through elections. It operates under the law, this idea that nobody is above the law, and citizens play their part and they agree to obey the laws which are passed. So next up is limited government. So this is the idea that governments should be constrained by strong laws and constitutions. So in there is this idea of checks and balances. So all liberals support the idea of constitutional government, although classical liberals and neoliberals believe more strongly in the idea of limited government. So next up is laissez-faire capitalism. So laissez-faire capitalism relates to the role of the state within a capitalist economy. So laissez-faire, if you remember, just means leave alone, let the economy sort itself out. So it argues that wealth creation is enhanced if the state does not interfere in the economy. So this is more a belief of classical liberals. So next up is the harm principle. So the idea behind the harm principle is the idea that the state is justified in interfering in an individual's life, which liberals aim to avoid if they possibly can. But they can interfere in somebody's life if a particular group is going to do harm to another group. So next up we have the minimal state, which we touched upon a little bit earlier. So this is obviously linked to classical liberals, the minimal state. So it's associated with classical liberals, like I say, and also neoliberals. So it argues that freedom is associated with a state which does not interfere in people's lives and which has limited functions. So you can also link this to the idea of laissez-faire capitalism. Next up, we have an enabling state, which you won't be surprised to know is linked with modern liberals. So an enabling state is a state which does not necessarily provide for people directly, but it creates opportunities for individuals to help themselves. and this is most notably seen through education. So next up, we're getting near the end, we have equality of opportunity. So all liberals argue that inequality is inevitable, but modern liberals argue more strongly for an equality of opportunity. And again, this is seen through access for education, that we each have access to a roughly equal level of education. So that affords us equal opportunities, which in turn creates a meritocracy. So next up we have Keynesianism, so an economic system based on the writing of John Maynard Keynes. This is basically the opposite of laissez-faire capitalism and the laissez-faire approach to the economy. So it is something which is supported by modern liberals. So it is the belief that the government should intervene in the economy to stimulate economic growth, and it was followed post-1945 as part of the post-war consensus, where successive governments, Labour and Conservative, followed this policy of trying to provide full employment for the population. So that takes us to meritocracy. So meritocracy is a principle which accepts inequality is inevitable, but in a just society, it should be those with greater abilities, a better work ethic, more drive, more creativity, etc., who are deserving of greater rewards than those who lack those qualities or that drive or that work ethic. And then finally, we have the mechanistic theory of the state. So this is the idea that the state is not organic, but it has been created by individuals. Therefore, the state ought to serve us and our interests. Although there are differences between what classical and modern liberals believe these best interests are. So that's it. Those are the key terms of liberalism. I haven't looked at positive rights and negative rights because I'm going to look at that in a separate video. Take care. Bye-bye.